Hi, once again, I'm Randy Pischel, also known as Star Thinker, um, giving my musings and thoughts and opinions on Forrest Fenn. And today, I just want to go over something. The last couple of nights, maybe going back several weeks, several months, uh, I have been watching lots and lots of videos, lots of interviews, lots of people giving their point of views, some people giving their solves, going to forums and reading, because I'm still doing, in spite of everything else I've been doing, I'm still doing the jelly bean theory, where, if you take a crowd of people and you take all their ideas, and you're going to see strange attractors in the ideas. And this is something I learned reading conceptual blockbusting, reading chaos theory. It's a theory that the average of the crowd is the right answer, basically, and it's called jelly bean theory because it's based on jelly bean contest. The average of guesses in a jelly bean contest usually come out almost spot on the number of jelly beans in the jar. So anyway, I give that explanation every time. But I've been watching videos, and watching videos, I'm like getting into older and older videos, and it's kind of interesting. I was watching some interviews from like 2011, 2012, and watching some people talking about things back in 2011, 2012. And it was a lot different back then. There was a different attitude, a different take on things, and Forrest Fenn even acted different and said different things in his interviews. And I can really see a difference. If you've been in this hunt for 5 years and you haven't gone back to look at the interviews from that long ago, go back and look at them and then compare them to the more recent interviews. And it's like night and day, to me at least. It's like night and day. And keep in mind, these are my opinions. I noticed someone was, one of the videos, they're like, someone keeps taking what I say as fact and they're upset because it doesn't pan out. And I'm like, true. Don't take what I'm saying as fact. It's my opinion, my musings. But I got the idea. I'm going to tell you a little story. My favorite campsite in the Rockies was close to Denver. And you get there by going up 6th Street, and you go up into the mountains, and you come to a place, I think it's called Pine Junction, or it might be Pine Tree Junction. You turn left at Pine Tree Junction. There's only one light there. Anyway, you go up into, like, you're going to Cheeseman Lake, and you get on County Road. It might be County Road. It might be Fire Lane 211. Don't get lost. One day I got lost up there. This is like 6 years ago, and my phone had no reception, and I didn't download maps, because on my phone I had the option to download maps if I knew I was going into a no reception area, and I didn't do that. I got lost, and I literally spent 8 hours traversing these back roads till I got back to a place where I recognized where I was and got back on track. And not saying it was wasted. I mean, I saw some beautiful country, and it was just gorgeous up there. And this is a point I'm going to come back to. But lots and lots of little back roads, little fire trails, and there were places where I'm like, I don't even know I'm on a trail anymore. Maybe I should turn around and head back. But you go there. Another easy way to find it, well, you go past Cheeseman Lake and up to 11, and it's the little campground I like is up there. Another easy way to find it is to Google the Goose Creek Campground, because there's a little campground with like 8 campsites and a porta potty. That's right there on Goose Creek. But the campsite I like is if you pass the campground, it goes up a steep hill. It makes like an S, like a switchback up the hill, and then it makes a horseshoe, and then my campsite's right there. And I love that campsite. I can't get enough of that. And that's where I go every time. I'm like, I'm going to go somewhere in the mountains. I'm going to go somewhere new, somewhere different. I always end up at this place. And it looks down into a valley, and behind you is Goose Creek. And sometimes I'll go hiking. I'll take my swimsuit, and I'll go. I have goggles that have my glasses built into them. And sometimes I'll just lay there in the water, and I'll look at the stones at the bottom of the creek. And later in the year, which is when the creek is actually like endurable, because early in the year it is ice cold and you will go numb and die. But later in the year, it's a little bit shallow, but I know where the deeper spots are. But I'll still go there and I'll swim and I'll lay. There's lots of big rocks and I'll lay on the rocks where they've been smoothed over by the water. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. And you'll know you're there because there's a big, huge cliff face. And on top of the cliff face is a big rock that's been broken into 3 pieces. And I call this the Tri-Rock. And I've been calling it the Tri-Rock for years. No one else calls it that, but if you ever hear me say, yeah, I went to the Tri-Rock, that's where I went. And this is a place I would love to die there. I would love for my bones to be there. I've even thought about making a will that stipulates that my ashes get spread, maybe from the Tri-Rock, because I've hiked up there twice, and it's a beautiful hike. And when you're at the top, you don't realize, like, holy crap, this is high, because it just looks like a 3-piece rock. But when I got up there, each of those 3 pieces was like the size of a giant house. And I've never realized that till the first time I went up there, where I was actually standing under the rock, looking up at it going, okay, I thought I'd come up here to look over the rock, but I'm under the rock looking up at it. There's a huge difference in scale. But anyway, if you go down to the bottom of that, there's a beautiful spot in the creek. A lot of the campers from the campground will hike up the creek, and it's pretty nice, and that's kind of like where I'd like my ashes to be spread. The one issue with this is that it is kind of close to Denver. It's like a 2.5-hour drive from Denver, and that is close, comparatively speaking. So a lot of city slickers come up there. So there's lots of nights I've gone up there, and from about 6 o'clock to midnight, that's all you hear are bang, 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 shotguns and rifles and mostly pistols. I would say about 90% pistols, because you can hear them. For some reason, they want to shoot as fast as possible, and you'll hear bang, 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 bang. And, okay, that's 6 shots. He's reloading, and then you think, oh, you can picture it in your head, them reloading, and then bang, 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 bang. Like, okay, there's 6 more shots. But everybody, and then this campground where I'm at, yeah, shell casings. I can't even metal detect there because it's just solid shell casings. A lot of the trails are all shell casings. A little bit up here, there's another campground. I'll park there during the day, and that's where I hike, and that's where I've been it's like a field of quartz. It's rose quartz. You can't even walk without stepping on quartz. It's that thick up there, and there's boulders up there the size of my torso, big boulders of rose quartz, and it's just gorgeous. You can't take it out because you need a permit to get the crystals and stuff. Not to say I haven't, there's a crevice, and this crevice is like 60 feet high, and I've gone up there several times, and I've always wanted to see, because on the other side of the crevice is like a flat plateau, and I've always wanted to go over there. And one day I screwed up my nerves, and you're looking down on pine trees, and pine tree, like I said, this is about 50, 60 feet tall, and it's not very wide, but when you're up that high, a couple of feet could seem like a couple of miles. And one day I screwed up the courage, and I jumped this crevice, and the rock I landed on was like a teeter-totter. It shifted, and I was like, fuck. And of course your first instinct is just to go flat on your stomach, and I grabbed the edge of the rock, and it tipped back. And when it did, there was a little crystal, perfectly formed. You don't normally see the perfectly formed like you see in the rock shops, but this was like a perfectly formed crystal, and I did keep that one. I don't think they mind someone picking up one crystal just laying there on the ground. But yeah, the whole ground is covered with this quartz, and you do see crystals, and I make it a point, like, I never gather anything. Well, first of all, you can't, but like, especially the really nice formed crystals, you'll see them in these little cracks in the rocks, but they're like, you'd need a hammer and chisel to get them out, and I would never do that. But they're beautiful to look at. I got lots of photographs of them. The piece that was as big as my body, I was actually standing on it, taking pictures of other crystals, and I looked down, and I was like, holy shit, I'm standing on a giant crystal. And it's fascinating. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. One of the reasons I like hiking there is there was a forest fire there, one of the largest forest fires in Colorado history. So it's like clear. And when you're up on top of these cliffs, you can see the ground and you can see the rivers and you can see the rocks and you can see all the wildlife, and it's just beautiful up there. But I always come back, and I always come back to my little campsite. Now, if I was going to hide a treasure, this is the Pikes San Isabel National Forest. And if I came in and I pulled in, there's dozens and dozens of little campsites. I pulled into a random campsite, maybe 5-6 miles from my own. That might be where I would hide a treasure. And in my book, I would say, yeah, I hid a treasure where I want my ashes to be spread, where I want my bones to be buried, where I would like to die. Technically, I'm correct because I'm in the San Isabel National Forest and I'm near my campground. Because what I don't want to happen is I don't want 300,000 people coming up to my campsite. And there are days I always remember to bring one of those big, they call them contractor bags. They're the really tough garbage bags, contractor cleanup bags. Because sometimes you get there and like people have worked on their cars and they've left car parts and they've left pallets. Why would you leave a pallet? Maybe they were going to burn it, or just garbage in general. And I'll clean the place up before I camp. Some of the other campsites get the worst of it. Like I said, there's so many shells, you can't pick up the shells. There's no point in even trying. But it's just, I can't imagine. That's just from, I call it city slickers, even though I'm a city slicker myself. Coming up there and just, they want to shoot their guns and drink beers and throw everything on the ground and take off and leave. And it's kind of disheartening. But that's only like a few people every weekend. When I go up during the week, I've literally been up there 24, 48 hours without seeing a single car go by. So it's really isolated during the week. And so on the weekend when all these people are out there, especially like 4th of July or a holiday, it gets really bad. And I can't imagine if I said I hid a treasure up there and people pinpointed it to my favorite spot, that's going to ruin that spot. It is. I wouldn't want to go there anymore. So I'll ruin somebody else's spot. Or, so technically that's all I'm saying is he might have said, yeah, I put this in a place where I've always known I was going to put it. Doesn't necessarily mean it was the exact place he was talking about. It could have been the general area. And then the other thing I was thinking of was all these little campsites. On the day I got lost, I kept finding these little campsites, and I was like, oh, I should come here one day, or I should come here one day. But I could see myself sitting at any one of those campsites thinking, oh, I could die here. Oh, I could see my ashes being spread in this stream or up on that mountain or on that rock. So you could pick any one of those and say, yeah, this is the place I would like to die. So it's not just like a single place, but like an idea. The idea of a beautiful spot with pine trees and rocks and a river. And this is what I'm picturing the whole time is pine trees and a river and nice ground. It would be a spot. He could say, yeah, I'd want my bones there, but it might not be that particular spot. He might just mean I want my bones in a place where there's shady pine trees and rocks and a river. And it could have been any one of the dozens of places I stopped at. So the idea that he meant literally the spot he wants to die in, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he's ever said that. He said the place I want my bones to be buried, or whatever the quote was. I just think that doesn't need to be taken literally to like the foot. Like I'm going to die right here. But generally an area. Like I said, if I were to go anywhere in the San Isabel National Forest, Pikes National Forest, they're kind of, if you look at the map, it always says Pikes San Isabel National Forest. I don't know where the boundaries are, but anywhere, Pikes Peak. When I'm in my campsite, I can see Pikes Peak, and I don't know what light they have on at night, but there's always a really tiny orange glow right at the peak of the mountain. And it always reminds me of like, oh, that's the signal. That's Gondor calling for aid, and that's exactly what it looks like. But yeah, I don't think that's meant to be taken literally. Another thing, and these are something, I'm just going to go off track here, but one of the things I saw in one of the interviews was he said, read my book, go back and read the poem over and over again, memorize it if you can, and then go back and read my book, and then you'll know where it is. And I thought, wow, that's totally different from all you need is the poem, because that's what I remember back when all this was first released. That's what he said, all you need is the poem. And I don't know if he said that before, or the poem is the important bit, but now I see in this interview, and it was like an old one, like from 2011, 2012, where he said, read my book, memorize the poem, come back and read my book. And he said, if you did it in that order, you'll get a better insight of what I'm talking about here. So, how do I do this? Someone's going to love this. I'm not going to say who, but I don't think I'm any longer a poem purist. I'm not saying you need the book, but I'm saying it's going to help out greatly. So I don't think I can consider myself a poem purist. I don't own the book personally, so I don't even know what's inside of it. I've never seen a page from this book. But hearing him say that, and then in other interviews, it's just, you're going to hate me if you're a Fenn fan, but I just feel like he was like so egotistical, because he wrote his life story and he put it in the bells and he buried the bells around. It's like he just seemed obsessed with people wanting to know his life story, and it did sound like in the beginning, because in the one interview, all he kept talking about was how many books he sold. Well, I sold 5,000. I don't consider myself a writer, but then I had to order 8,000 more, and I got 14 books, and I don't consider myself a writer, but everyone's buying my books. It just seemed really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a I don't know what word I'm looking for. I know there's a word for it, but it just seemed like he's kind of egotistical, but he's like trying to be modest, but not being modest. That really rubbed me the wrong way, but it's really a different story now, because now he's like very careful on what he says. But yeah, go back and look at these old interviews. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like he just wants not so much selling books, because the profits of the books go to charity, and which is a good thing. But it just sounds like he's like, I want everyone to know my story, and that was kind of a resonance that I got from all these old interviews. But in any case, I don't think this is where I want my bones to rest. I don't know if that should be taken absolutely literally. I know some people have had solves, and they've shared these solves, and the first thing people ask is that a place where you want to die? Is that a place where you'd really, really want to go to die and have your bones buried there? And technically, maybe not, but maybe you're in the park where you'd want to die. Maybe you're in the mountain range where you want to die. Maybe you're in the valley where you want to die, but not necessarily in the exact spot. So that's the point I was making today. Again, it's just my opinion, my thoughts. Someone is probably going to point to an interview and say, look at this interview. He says it's exactly the spot where he's going to sit down and die. Maybe, I don't know. But I just think, yeah, he may want to sit down and die there, but not after 300,000 people have trampled all over it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Some other things, I still think the poem has something in it. No one spends 15 years on a poem and uses phrases that has never been used before or since in the English language to convey a thought. And I don't know, to me that's just like, it screams that there's something hidden there, and I just can't find what it is. But in any case, watched a lot of interviews. I watched a lot of interesting people with a lot of interesting ideas. They're probably people I keep hearing the same names over and over again, but some of them I haven't heard the same names, and they've only got like 5 or 6 videos up, and I've watched all 5 or 6, and I'm like, they had some good ideas. I wonder whatever happened to them. Last video posted like 2017, and I'm like, I wonder whatever happened. Did they ever go looking? There are people who have looked in the spot where I want to go, and in my mind, I think, okay, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go in this direction. And they're like, I went here and I went in this direction. I'm like, oh, they didn't go in the direction I wanted to go. So I kind of still hold out hope. I'm still going to go boots on the ground. I do owe Chase Manhattan Bank a huge amount of money. And they're taking it out of my next 2 paychecks, which means I have to wait at least 30 days. If I didn't have that going on, I probably would be on the road tonight. And not just because I want to go and check out the spot, because it's in an area that I've been before, and I've just absolutely loved this area, and I want to go back. And this is kind of an opportunity for me. It's been a stressful couple of months. We've had a lot of techs quit, and my workload has gone way up, and they're sending me to other factories around the United States, and none of them are in the area where I want to go. So, but in any case, I do think after these 2 paychecks, the next paycheck is like free and clear. I got no bills, no nothing. My car still has a broken strut from the last time I went to the mountains. And I drove home with my steering wheel doing this the whole way, I kept thinking that if they can do this on top gear and drive a broken car across the country, I can do it. And yeah, my car still does that when I drive anything over 40 miles an hour. So I'm not going to take my car until I get my strut fixed, which I could do, but I'm going to instead go boots on the ground. So yeah, so I'm not sure when that'll be, but like I said, it's going to be at least, because like I said, next 2 paychecks are going to be 30 days, so there'll be like 45 days. And I hate to do that because I don't care if there's snow on the ground. I want to go. And I don't know who's going to go there within the 45 days. And I've often wondered, like, if someone finds the treasure, and there might be 5 or 6 other people who were like, I was in that area. I know the feeling. When I went to Anita State Park to look for the snail in Michael Stather's hunt, we searched that part from one end to the other. And it wasn't until we were there that we realized similarities in the book. And this is kind of what Fenn always hints at. He's like, you got to be in the spot to know what the rest of the poem means. You get to the first 2 spots on Google Maps, on your ideas, and then you got to find the next 7 by being there. And all we had to go on was Anita State Park. And we brought our book with us as me and my son. And that's when we noticed, like, oh, the chapter on the snail, if you look at the drop cap, that's a map of the park. You look at the map of the park, and you're like, oh, it's identical. And there's a ferry pointing to a spot. So we went to the spot where the ferry was pointing. And we looked around, and we're like, can't find nothing. And then my son was like, well, on the next page, there's a painting of a tree. And, the whole book is cartoonish, and, you don't think of nothing. But, like, here's a painting of a tree, and it had a mouth and eyes, and because it was a living tree. And he goes, that's that tree over there. And he swore up and out. So that's the tree we searched, and it ended up that was the tree we found the snail in. And when we were there was at least 6 other people there from all over. There was Texas plates and Utah plates and New York City plates. And we were just amazed because we were here in Iowa and we have Iowa plates. And when we found it like after the sun had gone down. And we were blowing our horn and shouting, hey, anybody's looking for the snail? Because we wanted to share our find. By that time, everyone had gone home. And, like the next couple of days in the forum, people were just like, I was there. I was that close. I looked in that tree. And, we looked in that tree probably 4 times before my son actually found it. And he said, well, I figured that if it was in the tree, stuff fell on it. So he started digging. And of course, it was under a whole ton of debris, that's how I'm picturing this chest. This chest has been out there 10 years or so. If you put it in a crevice, it's probably covered with pine needles and leaves and dead squirrels, and who knows what's on top of it. Right now, there's probably snow on top of it. But supposedly, and I'm going on the assumption that even if there is snow, the blaze is above the snow. And if you find the blaze, you can go over there, throw the snow off to the side, and you'll find the chest. So, no matter where it is, and my solve is probably wrong, and I admit that. But no matter where it is, I think that's the truth. That the blaze will, if there's snow, the blaze will be above the snow, and you can still find it in the snow. And I believe that it might be a place where you might want to die, or it might be in an area where you might want to die, or whatever. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. I've gone over my allotted time. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And just remember, I'm Star Thinker. Check out my book, The Beacon Star. And I might talk about that one in my next one, because the idea of how I came up with it, and things I did for it, and kind of the rules I had in my head, because I've done so many other hunts, and I've seen other people try to do hunts and they've had issues. I wish I could remember the one hunt that was like so complicated. I mean, it was, and then someone solved it, and I'm like, how on earth did they solve this? It was so freaking complicated. I can't remember what hunt that was. It wasn't David Blaine's. I don't know. I have to look that one up. But I was like, I don't want something that complicated. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm actually downloading Windows updates on 4 different computers, and I got 3 computers over here running, and I got my own stuff going on my own screens up here. But it's just kind of one of those points where nothing's happening. But things are starting to pop up, and I'm like, I should probably get back to work. So think about these things. If you have an idea, if you know of any interviews that contradicts what I'm saying, go ahead and let me know. I welcome all this information. Like I said, I've been watching. I probably watch. Some nights I watch only 4 or 5, because the videos are half-hour long, like this one. 15 minutes long. Sometimes there's like 5-minute videos, and I'll watch a whole bunch of those. I try to watch them all, because, like I said, I'm crowdfunding this, and the more information I have, the more I can like zoom in on a spot and think, okay, well, if out of 30,000 people, 10,000 think this is the right spot, that might be the right spot. So anyway, I'm signing off. Look up Randy Pischel on Amazon. I do have another book that's called The 3 Men in the Tub. I love it. People who read it love it. People who have read it hated it. So there you go. But that's like my favorite book, even above and beyond the Beacon Star. And there's no codes in it. It's just a story. And I'm working on a ghost story right now, because I've been watching paranormal videos as well, and I'm like, I want to write a story about the backside of the paranormal research. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to really sign off this time. My name is Randy Pischel, also known as Star Thinker. I have 9 other channels out there. If you can find them all, you will be amazed. All right, signing off.